When he's a goal, ready to go. Okay.
Is everybody enjoying the dinner?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hard working people here, so thank you. I don't know if I can carry a tray like that. Certainly not with food on it. If I could spill it, I don't know if I can carry it. Well, once again, here I find myself standing in front of you to say welcome to the Vista 4th Annual Verbal Defense and Influence Training Conference. Going all right so far?
Yeah.
Our trainers have worked hard and taught us a lot. It's not over yet. As you know, I should say good evening. My name is Ben Marins. I'm the media director for Vista. I'm trained by Gary Plugowitz, and I'm here to get the awards banquet officially started. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Jack Johnson is a music performing musician, the West Coast. He has a song called "I Can Change the World." He says, "I can change the world with my own two hands, make the world a better place with my own two hands. But you got to use your two hands." That's what we're doing here. We're learning how to make the world a better place. I've gotten to talk to everybody in this room, and it's clear that you all want to make the world a better place, and you're willing to use your hands. Like the expression when I was a kid was, you got to get your hands dirty. Well, perhaps, but you've got to be willing to put yourself out there and realize that you have the power of you, which is a very strong power. And for all the people I've met who are doing the work that we are believing in and sharing, it's amazing to me how you use your own voices, because I've seen a lot of people train the last couple of days, similar material, a different voice, which allows more audiences to understand it and take it in, and to find our own voice, which in my world is a really special place to be, to find a voice and to have a message with that voice that does make a difference in our homes, in our workplaces, in our communities, and in places that we haven't been yet that we're willing to go and see what we can do. So we look at what we're able to get done, and we think that it's important to recognize those who have taken the time to do what we're talking about doing, and do it well. So tonight we begin what will be a long history of the Vistalar Award Ceremony for Community Public Service Award and a Lifetime Achievement Award. We recognize tonight the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety. Important to note, not police department, because the Department of Public Safety combines police and fire in emergency services, which is very special and to be commended. At the same time, the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety has taken on verbal defense and influence and had amazing results. So we are going to award them, and we are happy to have with us Captain Jim Mallory, or just call me Jim, Sergeant Ken Skibby, and Sergeant Matt Schumanauer, here to accept the award, which we are going to present in a few minutes. Before we do that, though, we'd like to show you a little bit about what they've done. And back home in Milwaukee, Sarah Manella spent a lot of time working to get the information together and give a video presentation, which we're going to share with you. And before we play it, I also want to tell you that if you look closely, you'll see that our first Lifetime Award recipient, sort of like Where's Waldo, makes a cameo in the video. So look closely, you may see him or her in there. And then, of course, we will give that person their award as well. I'm not under the impression that person knows that award's coming, but they'll know soon. So before I ask Gary and Guy to come up here and continue the awards ceremony, let's watch the video. And Gary, are we ready? Hit play out. Thank you.
The first award is going to be going to the first ever Community Partnership Award to the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety. Could Jim or any staff please come up? I got to meet these individuals about just over a year ago. We did a bunch of training for their agency. They're in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and again, it's a very interesting department. It's a Department of Public Safety, so it does police, fire, and EMS. But more importantly, it has a very diverse community. It's an urban community, but it also has a lot of colleges in it. It has a very diverse population. And when we trained with them, what was very interesting is that they took the 5 maxims that we talked about, and they actually started talking about how can we better promote what we already do. Because one of the things we found out when we worked with the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety is that they already were doing all this stuff, but as many of us have done, they didn't ever celebrate it. And so they started to celebrate. They developed something called a WOW bulletin. And WOW came from Jim's mother, who said, wow, I didn't know police did this. And every month, every week or 2 weeks, it comes out, and usually in those police reports have all the arrests. Well, the first half of this is always all the great things they've done for the community. They're going to share some of these great things they've done. And again, remember, they've always done these things. It's just now they take credit for it, and they're going out to promote what they do well. They're celebrating what they do well. It's like a peace story in action of what the department does for their community every day, but now they're talking about it. Jim and the staff are going to talk about that. So welcome.
Thank you. First and foremost, on behalf of Chief Jeff Hadley, he apologizes that he couldn't make it. He's the father of 6 children, and he's at home celebrating his 6-year-old son's birthday tonight, so he couldn't be here. But interesting enough, what got in a lot of conversations with Gary and Pete when the training went on, and the essence of it was we knew our brand was Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety and that our product was service. And we were very proud of the men and women of public safety and being an administrator there for the past 12 years. Every day we were exposed behind the scenes to their generosity, their humbleness, and their effort to serve. And we weren't doing a good job as an organization or as administrators in ensuring the community knew those things. And anyone in the police profession knows we're focused on arrest, we're focused on citations, we're focused in on how much dope did we get, how many guns did we take off the street. So in looking at how could we create our brand, we really identified our product being service. And one thing that we did with Viscalar's assistance in BDI, we made the investment to train all employees. Kalamazoo is about 27 square miles, a very diverse population, urban setting, home of the College Bowl eligible Western Michigan Broncos. Our public school system is the only school system in the country that if you graduate from Kalamazoo Public Schools, your college tuition is 100% paid for at a public university in Michigan. So it's very unique. We have a lot of stuff that we are proud of our community. And so when we looked at our product being service, we went in front of all the officers individually. It was a great experience for me. It was time consuming in the patrol division. We had 165 officers, but to get with every one of them individually took about 2 months. Started to explain their individual benefits to buy into this program, and overwhelmingly the majority would answer, "We're doing that, boss." And it's like, yeah, we got to hone in on it. We quit being so humble. Let us know about it. Give us the ball, and we'll run with it. And as Gary explained, what happened, I end up down visiting my parents who are in their 70s in Florida and all excited in technical police jargon of what we have going on. And my mom at 72 just says, "Jim, it sounds like you want your officers to treat people well, have manners, and do stuff that would make me say, wow." So that is exactly, and I said, "Mom, we just, so instead of, we still recognize hard, great crime-fighting police work in formal award type ceremonies, but we kind of flipped it. What we did is, and we created communication that goes out every month to the division, and we first highlight all these wow experiences. So if Mrs. Mallory would answer, when I explain the story to her, "Wow, you've hit that level that you're going to get recognition." And we also then follow up in that same document with excellent crime fighting examples. We include in there all thank yous that we receive, whether through our website, letters, phone calls. So we got all of our support staff involved. And we'll give some examples. I brought 2 of the gentlemen that were instrumental. We have 53 command officers involved in the organization, and both of these gentlemen are responsible for the precincts, and they'll relay some stories that they've been involved in. So we have all the training done, and we know behind the scenes we're looking for these wow moments, and we have plenty of examples of supplying gas for people out of gas, changing flat tires, giving a ride to someone. And what happens within a month, maybe 6 weeks after our entire organization had been through the first wave of training, I got a call at about 11:30 at night. And anyone who is in our business in administration, usually those calls, especially the longer you're in it, you really don't look forward to it. And seeing that it was the shift commander's phone number for our agency, I picked it up with a slight hesitation, and right away it was Lieutenant Mike Kelly, and he says, "Boss, you're not going to believe what happened." Which is the pregnant pause. It's like, I'm probably going to believe it, and my conditioned mind is it's not good. And he says, we took 2 people to Ann Arbor tonight. I said, all right. I said, I'm now awake. explained this story to me. And we have met with everyone, like I said, the officers individually. We met with the sergeants, we met with the lieutenants. We have 3 shifts, we have 8 different platoons led by shift commanders, met with their work groups, individually and collectively, to put this out. Hey, we can't tell you what WOW is, but we'll know it. Just know we're going to support it. You guys come up with whatever it is, we'll support it. And what the story was is two officers were sent to our transportation center on trouble with subjects, which is a typical call in our transportation center. It closes at midnight or 10 o'clock, I believe, on that night. What they found when they got there, this was December, and the wind chill was about 3 degrees. We had 20 passengers from the Trailway bus lines. Trailways and Amtrak share that transportation center. 20 passengers from Trailways were waiting for the connecting bus to arrive to take them to their further destination east. Amtrak controls the transportation center, so they staff it, and the Amtrak employee announced to the 20 people that they were closing the building and these people would have to wait outside for an unknown time when the bus would arrive. And I don't know politically correct or not, but Amtrak should probably get with Vistalar on that because it caused the situation. So the officers got down there, and the sergeant responded with them, and the sergeant went over to our local transportation center, which just does the maintenance at night on the local buses. Got with their supervisor, and they agreed to bring one of their buses down and heat it up, but they couldn't staff it. Our sergeant made the decision that we would take an officer off our rolls and put them on that bus to be with it until Trailways arrived. Then so we had 2 officers and a sergeant. The officer and sergeant remained with the people on the city bus, kind of talking to them. The other officer says, hey, I want to do one of those WOW things, and heads to McDonald's. He purchases $20 cheeseburgers and $20 chicken sandwiches, and being public safety, we have all kinds of Gatorade for fires and that type of situation. So he grabbed a couple of those cases and brought it back to the bus and fed everyone. Well, he was going to get that. Larson Stuglig is an officer of about 8 years on, was just in conversations with the people on the bus and found 2 females, late teens and early 20s, that relayed they were going to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's what they were waiting for. And then why they were going to Ann Arbor was their grandmother was at U of M's hospital and not expected to make it through the night. Larson Stuglig, an officer of 8 years of no command rank, went to her sergeant and said, I've got a better WOW than cheeseburgers. I'd like to drive them to Ann Arbor. And the sergeant said, go for it. So they did. Dave Juday was a sergeant. He has about 12 years on, about 1.5 years as a supervisor. And if he was standing here, as he did when first Mike Kelly relayed the story and got me all jazzed up, and I called my immediate staff and said, we're going in early. And we showed up about 4 in the morning. And anyone in the business know if the bosses show up at 4 in the morning, that's usually not good either. But we called all the officers down after they were told it'd be a good thing and wanted to hear their personal stories about this event. And Dave Juday would tell you it is the proudest moment in his career because he felt the need to explain to the other people on the bus why these 2 were being taken off the bus and given a ride and the other 18 were not. He relayed the story, and it started with one person on the bus and concluded with the remaining people. They stood and applauded him. They couldn't believe that a police department would do that. Well, we made sure that we wanted to also really emphasize our appreciation for that WOW type service. And we made sure that all those employees were put in for an all-star award, which is a citywide award that is accompanied by a financial bonus. And it just kept expanding. We put no expectations other than the officers were to engage in providing the best product we could, and our product is one thing, service, in every single contact. I will tell one more story from my platform and then have the precinct supervision, explain what they were personally involved in, and two more, and then I will conclude with one final example. And a lot of times, and this was early on, it was actually the week after we took the girls to U of M, our desk officer called me and said, "Boss, you got to get out here." And again, you just hesitate in our business. What am I walking into? Who has taken their time to come and wants to see me? They don't want to see you, boss, but you need to get out here. I walk out, and we all talk, in this business of profiling and etc. And some people profile us. We had a senior citizen come in, and she was a grandma, lives by herself, and she had 3 dozen donuts. And the story goes that her son lives in Iowa and couldn't raise mom. Mom didn't have a cell phone, and he just couldn't raise her, couldn't get through on the hard line, and again, it's December. So the officer, who has about 2 years on the job, responded to a check welfare. See if my mom's okay, I can't raise her. Goes to that home and finds out that her phone service is not working. That's all that's wrong. Calls on his cell phone to his son out in Iowa. "Your mom's okay, we'll be calling you in a little bit." Unbeknownst to anyone, and this officer, we would have never known this except for the gratitude of the citizen, went to the local Walgreens and picked up a Boost phone, purchased a month's worth of service on the Boost phone on his own, brought that phone back to the grandma, called the son in Iowa and said, "Here's the new phone number of that Boost phone. The service is good for a month. We've called AT&T, the phone company, to get the phone fixed." This was a Tuesday. He was going off shift. His rotation of shifts was ending on Thursday, and the appointment was scheduled on Friday. He gave it to his partner, and then on Friday, the partner went there to confirm AT&T got the landline working again, called the son out in Iowa to explain that. So the citizen, grandma, came down with the 3 dozen donuts as her sign of gratitude to our organization and for that officer in what they did. And again, we made sure it was an internal parade that we provided for that officer, because that's the WOW service. That's what we want our brand in Kalamazoo to stand for. If we're a community that is able to provide college education at no cost to graduates, and we need to be a police department and a brand that provides service like none other. And they just time and time again, and speaking of time for the sake of it, I could give you 4 hours of examples at my level of how we're contacted. There's never once in the WOW bulletins that we send out, never once we aren't able to put in a letter, put in phone calls, put in emails of gratitude. And for as long as I've been in this business, 24 years, and I've been at senior staff over 12, I have never once received a call for how many arrests we made that shift, how many guns we took off the street, how much dope. And we're very good at that as well. But it is unbelievable the amount of gratitude our citizens have displayed at the actions of our men and women that serve them. And that is really what makes us extremely proud. And it's not something now, as we've seen the rewards and these little stories of success out in the precincts get going, it just builds on each other. It keeps building and building and building. So I'll let both Matt and Ken tell stories of officers that they work with and the impact that occurred, and then I'll go ahead and finish up.
I am Matt Schumer. I'm a sergeant with County Public Safety. My story will be the least impressive of these up here. It was July of this year. It was a busy day. There was an armed robbery, something else happening. And one of my officers responded to a local school where a 10-year-old boy was brutally pushed off his bike by 3 18 and 19-year-olds and punched in the face, and his bike was stolen. The kid was very upset. I arrived on scene knowing that I did not have enough officers to actively look for the suspect. Yes. So I went up there. Mom was very, very upset. It was hard to communicate with her at first, but we calmed her down. She then proceeded to tell me that the 10-year-old had just purchased the bike 2 days before for his birthday with his own money, which he'd saved for a year. So it was a brand new bike. An officer came to me, one of my officers came to me and said, "Hey, what can we do for this kid?" We can go to a local Walmart and buy this kid. So that's what we did. My lieutenant called me and said, "Hey, what are you planning to do with this kid?" I said, "Well, we're already at the Walmart, sir, so we'll be getting the bike." So we purchased the bike for the young kid, took it to his family, outbreak of tears. The kid was very happy. I didn't tell my wife about this, and then probably an hour later, my wife calls me and says, "Hey, I see you on Facebook." What do you mean you see me on Facebook? Because I don't post anything on Facebook. I just like to read what everybody else puts on there. And she says, "Well, there's a picture of you and another officer and a kid with a bike." And it's like lots of likes on Facebook. And she's like, "Oh, it's a great thing." I'm like, yeah, it was pretty good. We both chipped in for the bike. By the way, I used our credit card, so don't be too mad at me about that. So it was a great service moment. I made myself and my other officer proud. That's what we did. So.
When Captain Mallory took over the operations division, he did what he said. He brought all the officers, he brought all the sergeants, lieutenants in, we had a one-on-one. And part of that conversation was he wanted us to start doing customer service checks on calls, whatever call that we wanted to pick or what officer. We would go back approximately 2 weeks. Seemed kind of odd, but when he started explaining how many things do you get in the email about a hotel that you stayed at or a service provider that came out and did, they want to know, they want to judge, they want to rate their people so that they can provide the best service possible. So Captain Mallory put in charge of the sergeants that we were to go out and before our big break and after our big break of the schedule, we were to go out and do a customer service check. Okay, so it was kind of early in the inception of this whole idea, so I started to kind of cherry pick what call I was going to go to. I was like, well, I'm gonna stack the deck in my favor here, and this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a positive experience here. So I had a list of 5 that I was going to go check. First one, no one home. Second one, no one home. Third, and so on. So I get to the 5th one. Now the 5th one was a trouble with call. It's nothing more than somebody's having problems with somebody else, and they want the police to come out and take care of their problems for them. I was like, too easy. Somebody came, they wrote whatever, and they're out there. So I go up, knock on the door, and I was greeted with, "Who the hell is it?" Kalamazoo Public Safety, you have a few minutes of your time, I'd like to talk to you. Well, it already started off bad. Now, when you talk about the VDI concepts and all this, I could have just left. I mean, there was conflict right off the bat, and I just wanted to leave. But then I said, you know what, something's not going on right here. So I proceeded to, talk my way into the house, and there was a man and a woman sitting there, and the house was in shambles. It was an apartment. I could tell that, they were just down and out as far as, living. So I get to talking to him, and I said, "Hey, did Officer so-and-so come out about 6 days ago and take a trouble with call?" Well, then that was the trigger. It wasn't the officer, it was the problem. And the F words and the explicatives and the things. But the female, the lady who was doing most of the talking said, "We don't trust you. We hate you. I really want you to get the F out of my house." I did not choose wisely on my cherry picking list. And now I was up against the ropes. I just wanted to start retreating my way back to the door and leave. I kind of did a feint. I was like, okay, well, I understand you don't trust us. And then I kind of walked towards the door. But just before I leave, is there anything that I can do to help? What is going on here? And she's like, "Well, what do you mean? Tell me your problem." we have a lot of resources here in Kalamazoo, we can help you. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, what's going on? And then we find out the problem. They're getting kicked out of the apartment. They don't have any money. The husband couldn't find a job. He's been trying to get work. It's just going downhill, downhill, downhill. And I was like, well, where's the police come in all this? Well, when we have problems with the landlord and all this stuff, you guys come and we get pissed off. We're basically putting all of our emotions and all of our hatred and stuff, we're labeling you and you are the punching bag. I was like, okay, that sounds, I guess, fair. Someone's got to do it. It might as well be us, the ones with the gun. So I told her, I said, what can we do? And she's like, well, I don't know if you can even help me. I took down the list, got her number, name, I left. I said, someone will be in contact with you tomorrow. I get hold of Brandon Noble, who's the community policing officer for that area. His role is long-term strategies and planning, and he's got all the information about resources and what. I got with Brandon and said, what can we do? These are the problems. These people hate us. What can we do? We want to turn this around. Brandon says, well, let me go talk to him. He goes, talks. I get a progress report the next week, midweek. Brandon comes to my office. He's like, hey, Sarge, you got a minute? Yeah, what you got? Hey, just want to let you know that I took the husband to a job fair down at his community health and it's not mental services, but it's where it's just a big facility where all of these agencies are. And they had a job fair. He got him a job. I was like, all right, Brandon, that's outstanding. But whoa, no, I'm not done. I said, well, what else, Brandon? Oh, well, I secured him housing, and they're going to be moving in a couple weeks. And I was like, okay. Oh, yeah. And I went down to the local food bank, and I got him food. I was like, so they're happy with us now? Oh, they love us, Sarge. They love us. We're the best, and they're telling all their friends. So a simple customer service check got involved. It just kind of spiraled and just went to, it wasn't what I was expecting. And in the line of law enforcement, you're never going to expect what you're getting into. So Captain Mallory telling us to go out and do these service checks. We've actually compounded on that, and now we're going door to door. Our goal is to hit every house in the city of Kalamazoo. And we're talking with people one-on-one. So communication, this whole area of life in itself, being able to communicate verbally, non-verbally, all of those things, very, very integral part of what we do. So this system works, the program works. I'm here standing there telling you that it works. And we helped one of hundreds and thousands of people that we help every year. Thank you.
For those of you not from Kalamazoo, pissed off is a technical term. What we did is we expanded. We were getting such a response that we could gauge from the community. And one thing that you should know is we never called the press ever one time on any of these incidents. We never informed the press. And in fact, some of it about and it wasn't negative, but one answer was we didn't tell our mayor or politicians either. And what happened was we had multiple people contacting them. So then I did have to explain why we didn't inform the politicians, that we weren't hiding anything. We didn't know how quick and wide it was going to go and why. And what we expanded upon was the customer service checks. My wife and I have, fortunate enough, the last couple of years have traveled, and that's where I use that example that the hotel, the airline, people who have a brand in a product want you to become brand loyal to their product. So whether it's an email survey or a phone call, or how can we at Sandals or how can we at Southwest Airlines do better, it created that. So then we started a discussion, how can we do that in the police business if our product is service? And sure, we have a website and you can go to it, and it very much highlights if you have a complaint. So it's like, let's look and get with IT and see if we can also highlight if there's a positive experience. But then we charge the sergeants with, hey, we want you to follow up on our officers' calls for service and interact with the public a second time, hopefully within that 72 to 96 hour window based on a private sector model, to get a true response of what service we did provide. And we also we're unionized, and our union leadership is very much in support of this endeavor. This is not an exercise to catch officers doing anything wrong. Because we knew already that it was going to be an exercise that gives us more of these wow stories because of the humbleness of the employees that were at public safety. And that's what we found out. We also then, some people, we did it about the 5th month. We did 4 months of customer service, and most of the time that was a victim in a crime. So then we got a little bit wild and said, all right, the month of May, let's do arrestees. Contact arrestees and see how they were treated by the officers. And surprisingly enough, I'm not going to say all, there was 4 complaints of the arrestee didn't feel they were treated right. And we looked at that, and you could imagine that it was probably just due to the circumstances of being arrested that were really they didn't want to have happen. But we had over 90%, actually well more than that, because we did 57 arrestees that month. We had 53 of them say the officer was tremendous, and those were people arrested by the city. So we're doing that again this month of November. Arrestees will be contacted to gauge how our service is. So then we expanded and said, hey, let's have 2 sergeants walk door to door, 2 blocks every shift. And when you compute that out to our residential setting, that should have us knocking on doors twice a year, giving the citizens an opportunity. And again, we didn't call the press, but what happened is on that canvassing, someone related to the news director of the local TV station called them, and that's how they ran the story. So just tremendous things. We very much respect and thank Vistelar for getting us focused as an administrative team to recognize things that we have done time and time again. And also the follow-up contact after Gary and I will communicate on a weekly basis. And I know he's a busy person, but he certainly has taken out time. And he's no longer under our budget, if you will. So I very much appreciate the follow-up service that we get from Vistelar and different ideas. I'll conclude with this story. In fact, with 2. The first is I've had 2 emails since I've been at this conference. I was showing Gary and Pete. One of them I received yesterday, and I'm usually CC'd on it. It was from a supervisor in our dispatch center sent to the shift commander and an officer involved along with that command staff. And it read how someone on Palmer Street, again, a female on Palmer Street, had called because she didn't know who to call, decided to call 911, but it wasn't an emergency. She explained to the dispatcher how she had to get word out to Officer Ryan Perez, who's about a 6-year employee and a fantastic cop. Well, Ryan was on that precinct's beat, and what he did is, she was a female that was out raking her leaves out in her front yard, and this happened yesterday. He took the time to stop and helped her finish raking her leaves. So she called 911 to make sure that we gave Ryan, as she said, a gold star, and Ryan will be getting a gold star here when we get back. The story I conclude with that really for the officers in the room should stick with them is Rick McCaw is an officer on our power shift of about 8 or 9 years. And again, is just a tremendous asset to the organization, constantly a fantastic crime fighter. Well, he's arrested, and we though are the home of the promise, we do have active gangs in town that are involved in criminal activity. and a member of one of those associations. Rick McCall knows very well. He's arrested him 4 times in the past. 2 weeks ago, Rick McCall initiated his 5th arrest of this subject. He knew he had a warrant. He knew that the person was known to be armed, and he knew his past history. This person had been shot, so he was a victim in an attempt murder investigation we had shot at people. They didn't follow up with prosecution, so he was very well aware of the potential for that situation. When he sees him with a warrant, and we have this on audio, he exits the patrol car and they get in a foot chase. Around the first house in the neighborhood, they hit a fence. It's a regular fence, but the top bar is off this chain link fence, so it's soft on top. The suspect goes over the fence first. The suspect, as he goes over the fence, has now fallen onto his back. And we hear Rick's verbal commands during the whole foot chase in this incident, and you'll hear rustling, and what that is Rick McCall going over the top of that fence that he realizes too late is not firm enough to hold him. His gun belt gets caught at the top of it. So if you can envision fully uniformed officer, and he'd probably want me to say a chiseled in shape officer, is at the top of this fence looking down at a very, very violent person. And what he sees and what you will hear on video is the suspect pulls a loaded 9mm out of his waist about 3 feet from an officer hanging at the top of the fence, a position that we don't train very much on. And I say that because some of you might, but we never have in Kalamazoo. Rick says on tape the first name of the suspect because he knows him. And the suspect says, "Don't worry," and takes and puts the 9mm on the side on the ground. Rick undoes himself at the top of that fence, gets the person in custody, secures the weapon, and you hear their conversation going back to the car of these different prior contacts, and it is almost a light-hearted conversation. When Rick puts this subject in the back seat, and our back seats are wired with video and audio, what you then pick up is Rick asking him, "You weren't going to shoot me, were you?" And his answer from this violent person is, "I'd never do that to you, McCall. You always treat me decent." And that highlighted for a lot of us what the return can be in our business just by following Mrs. Mallory's rules. Have manners, treat people decent, understand the circumstances they're in, and provide the service that you want your own family members to receive. So again, on behalf of Chief Hadley, we certainly appreciate the opportunity, we appreciate the recognition, and we certainly recognize Vistalar and Gary and Pete's assistance to us. So thank you, gentlemen, very much.
One second, Jerry, one more time.
Yeah.
As we say, probable cause. One more, because it's government.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Now, one of the things is that, ever since Pete and I have been to Kalamazoo, it's been unbelievable. We've been talking constantly with Captain Mallory. And again, I get these bulletins all the time, and I just read them, and it just makes me smile, because they're such great public service. But the biggest issue is that all this country, every day, there are officers, whether they're police, they're corrections, they're people, staff members in mental health facilities and hospitals that are doing a great job, and they really don't take credit for it. And we need to start celebrating what they do well. They've done a great job. And so one more round of applause for them. Now you'll probably recognize as the cameo appearances in the video who are the Lifetime Achievement Award winner is, and it's Coach Bob Lindsay. Bob, can you come up? Now, as you've heard over the last couple of days, is that Coach and I have go back a long way. The first time we met at Smith & Wesson after when we were fighting one time, we broke this huge expanding wall, and we just walked away from that, and we never told nobody what we did. But we've been around for a long time. We've done a lot of things together. And again, we talk about unconscious competence. I think people met Coach this weekend and realize he's an unconscious competent. Now he's become competent, in terms of consciously aware of his unconscious competence. He knows what he's doing well now. But the issue is that I have to share a story, and the guys up here too, because he's another lifelong friend, he wants to share a little story with you. But here's the issue: is that this is a joke we always have. We always end up going to Walmart or something together, and when we get done, he's always talking to the people that are there. And this is my question to Coach always. A lot of times it's a senior lady, that's working at Walmart. She's there. I always said, okay, tell me, what are her grandkids' names? We're talking about a 3-4 minute conversation, and you know what? He gets it every time. Because he just talks to people, he just basically disarm and he just gets them to, just talks to them and gets to know them, and in a couple minutes he can do that to somebody. And it's amazing me about him. But we go back a long way. We train a lot together. The good news is you saw him at lunchtime today, so you really got to know him a little bit. But I want to let Guy talk about him. Guy knows him as well.
Good evening. My name is Guy. I met Coach about 35 years ago in London, Ohio, at a seminar from hell, in the middle of the winter. And in London, Ohio, there's 2 correctional facilities across the street from each other, a maximum and a minimum. And then there's also the police academy. So we got to spend a week there together at a training seminar in this freezing cold. And we tell stories and really train very hard. But one of the things that we loved about Bob is that we could joke with him. One time we had him really fooled. He's from New Orleans initially, and he never saw snow. And so we told him, Bob, when you go out for your run, you really got to be careful because there's some really venomous snow snakes on this one road. Okay, and he's like, no, well, there's no such thing as snow snakes. And we're like, yeah, there is, Bob. Trust me, when you go out running, you look and you're going to see all these little holes where they burrow into the snowbanks. Well, you're crazy. I go, well, go ahead. When you go running tomorrow, you look. So what we did was we woke up, about 3 of us, earlier than he did. We went out with broomsticks. We poked holes in the snowbank. So he comes back running like this into the academy, and right before the door, what we did was we found this rubber snake and we painted it white. And he's screaming, he won't go past it, he's screaming in front of the door. And he's like, Rossi, you no good, and I won't even finish the rest of it. But he always blamed me for some reason. We had a wonderful time together, laughing, crying, joking. But seriously, if I was going to write a book is nothing without the characters. Okay, plot means nothing. It's all about characterization. Coach Bob Lindsay's a character. He epitomizes everything that's good in a human being, everything that's best in a trainer, and everything that's best in front. And he talks about non-solace, he means it. He really means it. On my shoulder is written non-solace over the top of St. Michael. It's a result of Coach Bob Lindsay. You know, and he calls me all the time to make sure I'm okay. I don't know what he's got a little crystal ball or something. He just knows, you know, and he's an amazing person. And I wouldn't be here, and I'm sure a lot of you in this room wouldn't be here as national trainers today if it wasn't for this man and his passion. And so, Coach, well deserved. I love you. There's nobody better that I'm happy to get this for.
We'll get a photo later, but you know, we're going to get it now. You never know.
One more. All right, say snow snake.
But yeah, look at this. Oh, yes, can I say something? You know, who could stop you?
Brothers and sisters of the Shield who have come a long way. My heart overflows with gratitude and love and so many emotions. When I saw the pictures of the trail, I thought I was seeing somebody else for a minute. I said, no, that has to be me. I mean, who else gets that dirty? My code name at home, I guess I can go public with it now, is Pigpen. When you're removing granite from the oldest mountains in the world, and you excavate it, large underground streams cause tremendous muck and mire to come in. God bless my wife Maggie, because she puts up with so much. But when I call her, I said, this is Pigpen, and that means that's a code. And it simply means she gets this large plastic tub. Thank God we live in a mountain and a forest setting, because I have to take everything off before I'm allowed to go home. And Maggie takes her wedding vows very seriously. I made the mistake one time of arguing with a Sicilian. I do not recommend that. Because when she gets upset, and this happened when we were courting, for those of you that are not old enough, that's what you call dating now. And we were courting, and we went through this. She says, we had this unresolved argument, and I said, no, excuse me, we were married. We just got married. And, I came home, we got this unresolved argument, and that night, she didn't have anything cooked for supper. And I remember saying this so vividly in stupidity. I said, I'm not going to be held hostage by food. And I went out, I stormed out the house, and I went to Shoney's. The second day, came home, and everything was good. I took the uniform off, no supper, not a word, went to Denny's. Third night, same thing, went to Wendy's, came home, apologized, never happened. Earlier today, I had the privilege of addressing this group when I said Aristotle said something very significant. And that was, if you don't have something to contrast or compare something with, you can't really appreciate it. I was talking with Jill earlier this evening about her new book. And I remember vividly going head to head with the National Sheriff's Association, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, as an advocate for women in law enforcement. I remember before there was one African American in the city of New Orleans. Come a long way. But I'm going to say something to you tonight that I said almost 2 years ago at the International Law Enforcement Educators and Trainers Association. I was presented an award that night, and I remember it vividly. Didn't see it coming. And I said something then. I said, I will receive this award in gratitude, but I promise you, and I told the editor of the magazine that gave the award, I'll only receive it in the name of all those that led me to this award, and that's you. And I said something then, I'll say it now. If I could break it in 1,000 pieces and give you each a piece, I would. Let this be known. There is no coach without you. I hope that you will have a passion in your life to continue to do your part as God lets you see it, to make this a safer place, a safer community, a safer country, because we are making a difference. You heard the testimony of what happened, and you're writing your stories like this every day. You make a difference. People are safer because of you. So I receive this in your name. And I thank you on behalf of my wife Maggie and our family, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. God knows I want to see that first, fifth generation so bad like Mama did. But as long as God pointed out, as long as God gives me breath and willingness, I promise you I'll always be there for you. And I know you'll be there for me. This is yours.
Well, thank you all for coming to our first award ceremony. It'll be one of many. Thank you for the members of the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety for coming here and sharing your story, which is so powerful. Thanks to the coach for all you've done for us, and we'll try to carry on that torch for you as you carry it on for us. We're done with the ceremony tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow in classes. A great conference, and then we'll finish it up tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you next year somewhere.